understand the concept that I will be alone when I'm going somewhere, and I purposely go alone going somewhere.
Phoenix, you burst in a fire, burn a thirst and desire. You transform and appear in flesh. You spread your wings to rise from the ashes. Phoenix, you burst in a fire, burn a thirst and
Hey y'all, hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. I'm Sasha. Welcome back to my channel if you're new. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, my Loyal Royals. So good to see you. If you are new to the fam, welcome to the family, my new Loyal Royals. So good to finally meet you. First and foremost, I just want to say thanks to all of my Loyal Royals that have stuck around. I know that even though I try to stay on schedule, there's a lot going on with me right now, but I'm trying my best to stick to posting content to my current schedule, and as well as to keep you guys entertained, because I really enjoy showing and sharing with you my love of travel as well as my love of aviation through different contexts of content. So thank you so much for sticking around, watching my content, and sharing it with others. I highly appreciate it. So shall we get to this video? As you can see from the title, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on what I learned with this having been my very first international solo trip. So if that is something you're interested in, please keep watching, as I do have one little minor piece of advice at the end of the video. So with all that ado, here we go. Now, before we really get good and into the juice of the video, I do have a minor disclaimer for this. Please keep in mind, me saying what I have learned is based on my own experience as someone who has just gone out the country for the first time. It's not based on anyone else's experience that someone either has not, or is super experienced with international travel. This is just my own personal experience and what I learned personally. So please do keep that in mind as we go through this video. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty. So first things first, solo travel as a Black female. Now, there is a lot behind this, because one thing about me is I come from a very close-knit family. And as crazy as it sounds, it took a long time for me to get my family to understand the concept that I will be alone when I'm going somewhere, and I purposely go alone going somewhere. Because in the past, I have waited for people as it's been suggested. I've waited and waited, paid out money, and only to have someone at the end say, "Oh, I can't go," or "I need you to spot me and I'll pay you back." Never paid back. That gets old after a while. So I just decided, well, let me try going places here and there as little, road trips. Just something small back and forth. And that worked out pretty well. The good thing about going alone somewhere is if you're an introvert, it brings out a minor bit of an extrovert in you that you didn't even know you had. Now, I myself am a complete extrovert. I am very outgoing and energetic, and I love to have fun. So I can say that it makes you, what's the best way to put it? It makes you really come out of your shell if you're in one. It makes you come out of your shell, because just think, when you're traveling alone and you need help, there is no one next to you to say, "Hey, bud, can you do me a favor? Go ask that person over there what we got to do next." No, it's you. It's just you. And when I go to unfamiliar areas, yes, I'm a little at first, but then eventually I just think, you know what? I really need help. Google's not helping. Maps aren't helping. Let me go politely ask a local and see what I need to do. So that's sort of like a mini background to kind of why I do solo travel a lot by myself. Now, moving into the next bit of it is how I came to do solo traveling. Not the background of it, but how I built myself up to be able to go out the country alone. There are a slew of channels that I follow here on YouTube as well as Instagram for Black solo female travelers, because I'm a Black female, and I do follow everyone else, not to be biased to just one side, but I can kind of have a context of representation to the Black female solo travelers versus just all generalized solo travelers. But I follow their channels. A lot of them had really good advice, and one of the best pieces of advice I remember from one channel was start small. Start small. I live in the United States, so it's very easy to start small in the US. Starting small for me meant going back and forth to different areas, such as from, say, I guess like within like a 100-mile radius to where I live, and just going here and there and finding little small places that I didn't know existed. Still being aware of surroundings and places that I know for a fact I shouldn't go, but even still, just to kind of like get used to the idea of going somewhere by myself. And from there, just take a small hop flight to kind of get used to flying alone. One example would be, say, I don't know, an example flight, BWI to Norfolk. It's a 25-minute flight. And if I wanted to take that flight, I could just take that flight and kind of see what it's like to fly a little mini flight, as I call it, on my own. And then from there, just work your way up. Say, I don't know, Baltimore to, say, Boston. It's a 55-minute flight. And then hop out a little bit more. Baltimore to, I don't know, Chicago, an hour and 45 minutes or something like that. You know, just kind of like expand your time frame out. That way you can kind of get used to traveling further and further. For me, the furthest for the US will be to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. About a 5 or 6 hour flight, depending on where you go. And I did a lot of that last year. So that kind of helped because I was going around different K-pop concerts, and it seemed like everybody and your mama decided to have a concert tour last year. Started off in one spot and ended up in a whole another one by the end of the year. But it kind of helped, and also I have a deep love for going back and forth to New York. I love to take the Amtrak train from my area to New York, and it's easy for a quick day trip, stuff like that. But her advice was to pretty much practice traveling here and there and everywhere. And then once you feel you're ready, book that trip and go ahead and take that first step to go into your first international solo trip. So now, the next thing, before I get into what I actually learned on my first solo trip, is the sort of, I'm not going to call it backlash, but the pushback against solo female travelers. Black at that too. So the biggest pushback, and I mentioned this in the background, that I got was, don't go by yourself. It's not safe. You shouldn't go this place and that place. You need to take somebody with you. You need to wait for someone to go with you. When I finally was able to explain this to several people, that when it comes down to it, outside of two people, I have no one that I can travel with. Outside of two people, there's no one else for me that I can travel with. That being said, no one else that could actually keep up with me, no one else that would have the same interest to going places that I would want to go, and no one that would say, hey, let's go this place and that place, but then when we get there, it's, oh, I didn't want to come here anyway. That makes the whole trip null and void at that point. So even when it comes to the different pushbacks that people gave me, yeah, I let it get to me at first, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just, just listen to what they say. I missed out on so much travel in my early life of my 20s that I could have done because I waited for people to come with me, or I told people to come with me, and at the end they told me they couldn't. Or it was, that place is not right for you to go, you shouldn't be going there. So that pushback is another thing that kind of got me to say, you know what, let me just get up and go. And now that I have officially taken my first jump to my first solo international flight, my first solo trip, I took my trip to South Korea It was a trip that I planned for 3 years. I saved up all my money. I got everything together. I made sure everything was set in stone, that there was no way for me to say, okay, I'm too afraid to do this, I'm too nervous, I can't, I'm turning back. No, I made sure I went ahead with it. I happened to go during the perfect time. It was BTS's 10-year anniversary as a group. There was so much going on for that. Walking around in South Korea by myself, at first when I got there, I did feel a little bit on the intimidated side, but as I got used to everything around me in just the generalized environment, I was fine. I learned the train system very well. If I needed to take a taxi, I learned what to say and how to say it, just to like make sure I knew basic talk for being in a taxi. And a lot of the times, if I got too shy, I don't know if it's maybe because I was by myself, but people were more willing to talk to me than anything. I know I heard too many rumors here and there about what people will or won't say to you because you're a foreigner or because you're a black foreigner or this or that or this or that. I didn't let any of that bother me. Yeah, it was in the back of my mind, but I didn't bring it to the forefront. And because of that, I was able to have an absolutely fantastic first time experience being out the country by myself. I did keep in contact with my parents the entire time I was away. That helped them feel more comfortable because that way they could see in live view through a video chat that I was all right, I was safe, I was having a good time, and it got a chance to show them a little bit around of what I was doing when I was on a tour. So I definitely am so proud of myself that I did my first solo international trip. And as a lesson learned to this, I say this. No matter what people say, do your research, get your money together, book that trip, and go in and have the time of your life. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you are interested in aviation and travel. I do appreciate if you go follow me over on Twitter at DragonPink07. And with all that said, I will see y'all later.